let's begin with like your big picture takeaways from whether it's the assassination itself, the reaction to it, whatever you've been thinking a lot about since it happened.
Well, thanks for having me on. I just am really struck, honestly, on what a sad and tragic day this is for America, and it sort of transcends politics, right? Charlie Kirk, he was brash. He's a provocateur, massively influential conservative thought leader who kind of changed the sort of campus youth vote landscape in a way that benefited definitely President Trump. But what he did, he was a world-class debater, and instead of like sort of hiding behind Twitter or sort of secure studios, he went out in the field and he engaged in debate. And look, I didn't agree with much of what he said, but I don't care. He was a guy that was sort of out about treating people with grace and respect, and we can't live in a nation that allows or enables this sort of political violence purely because you disagree with him. And I think this is, like I said, an issue that transcends any political thought. And we should first, before we sort of allege anything, we should just take a moment and say that this isn't it. This is not who we are as a country. This is not who we should have been raised to believe. And we need to figure out how to change this. And then I will say some of the reaction to this from especially people on the left and the far left, as I found incredibly distasteful or even disgusting, because it's, people are so wedded to their partisan and political sort of narratives that they have lost any sense of humanity, that this is an individual who lost his life because he was sharing his thoughts. And that's really, really gross. And I think it shows just how toxic and how far we've gone, and we need to do something to repair it. I don't know what, but it's a deeply tragic day that's more than just Charlie Kirk's death. It's a deep scar on Americans' history.
One point that I've been making is the timing of this assassination. It comes almost in 24 years to the day when this country suffered a horrific event, the September 11th attacks, and you think back then to the aftermath of 9/11 and how different this country was, how united the country was, how we put aside political differences and just, kind of looked at each other as Americans, as fellow Americans, and how far we've devolved since then. That's what's so alarming. Now, we were never going to stay that united, but I mean, we have really, really gone in the wrong direction.
Well, I didn't even realize today's 9/11. I lived in Lower Manhattan on 9/11. I was there. I left. I was working at Pop-Up Video. When that happened, we all left and we didn't know what to do, and we were all lost. We all went to go try to donate blood. Turns out there wasn't any need for blood. Either you got out of the way, harm's way. And I will say, to your point, no one really knew what to do. And the next day, Jesus, I'm going to start crying. On September 12th, there was a flood of construction workers, firemen, working class Americans that were coming in from the tri-state region, from all over the country, that were driving down West Side Highway to the smoldering rubble. And we didn't know what to do. So what did we do? We walked over there and we cheered them. And, you saw off-duty cops, you saw, hedge fund guys, you saw, sort of, the West Village is a largely gay scene. So you saw some, you saw the wonder that is the beauty of New York diversity, all just cheering on people that were volunteering to do whatever they could to sort of salvage what they could. And they just stopped what they were doing. And Jesus, I wish we could get back to that because, it was a really stunning moment. And I'm just getting teared up thinking about it because you're right. We are so far gone from that moment. And it's a shame. And I don't want to say that this is any one person or one party's fault. I think we all need to look at ourselves and try to do better.
We're joined by the founding editor of Mediaite, Colby Hall. You can find his work at Mediaite.com. I want to talk to you about the coverage of these kinds of events. I got to tell you, and I've said this a couple of times so far this morning, I'm tired of watching videos of people being murdered. Between the Charlotte train stabbing and then the shooting of Charlie Kirk, I mean, these are graphic videos. And one thing I would like to see, and I haven't seen it so far this morning, lots of images and lots of video of the event, and then, of course, of the shooting itself. I feel like we've got to change how we do that, and it really should just be pictures of Charlie Kirk and his family to try to start to humanize these people. I think that's a big part of it. We don't look at these people who we disagree with as just fellow human beings with families and with people who care about them.
I couldn't agree more. I saw John Podhoretz, who's a conservative thought leader. He writes for the New York Post and commentary. He posted on something on X saying, like, stop sharing these graphic snuff films. That's what they are. They're snuff films. And we need to stop seeing them because, honestly, the more we sort of normalize those imagery, we become desensitized, and it literally tears away at our social fabric. It literally ruins our society. And look, I'm a big believer in free speech, and I think moderating social media outlets is a really, really, really tricky thing to do. That said, if Elon Musk were to say that we're going to moderate sort of these graphic videos on our platform and not show them anymore, I would be fully in favor of that. You'll always be able to, if you want to find some graphic videos on the internet, you can find them. To make them so easily accessible in the mainstream outlets like social media, like X, then it's in your face. I saw the same footage. I chose not to watch the Charlotte bus because I just knew what was going to happen, and I didn't need to see that. I accidentally saw the Charlie Kirk footage, and it was deeply, deeply unsettling. And yeah, we need to humanize these victims. We need to sort of celebrate their lives, not show them as props in a disgusting snuff film that gives people perverse thrill. It degrades who we are as humanity.
And one more point on this particular issue. Andrew Marchand, he writes for the New York Post. He made a fantastic point, I thought, yesterday on X. He said, when you watch sporting events and there's a gruesome injury, they won't show the injury anymore.
Yeah, they blur it out.
They blur.
I was shocked to see the Charlie Kirk video.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that people are just sharing it, and it's not even censored. It just popped up in my face, even if I didn't want to see it.
Yeah. They will not replay the injury multiple times. Yet an assassination, you'll just see that clip. It was all day yesterday. You were seeing that.
I mean, I thought CNN handled it pretty well because they aired the clip the interaction right up until he was shot. They froze it and then played the audio of, the people screaming. So you kind of got the impact of how tragic it was, but you were protected from, they gave a warning. But I mean, to your point, it's a terrific point that Andrew made. They won't even show people that run onto the field because they don't want to encourage that. Right. So there is this thing, there is a very sort of ugly side to humanity. There's people that are messed up in the head who will see this and get ideas. And we need to protect ourselves from ourselves. And it's not, I don't think that's censorship. I think that's just wisdom. I think that's, the wisdom of experience that we need to be a little bit smarter about how we manage this. And, now's not the time for finger-pointing politics, but it is a time for somber reflection and figure out how we can get out of this hole we've dug ourselves into.
Founding editor of Mediaite, Colby Hall, with us this morning. You can check out all of his work, including his new piece, MSNBC Failed the Moment After Charlie Kirk's Assassination, at Mediaite.com. Colby, always appreciate the time and perspective. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks so much, Ryan.